Car 30, Gardner and Conway also in a Corolla.
Position 31 is Murphy and Barnes on the Corolla, then Burke and Carlings Toyota Supra. The rare Talbot Corollas, and 33rd, 34th is Matthews and Newton, 35th Seaton and Jones. That car is out, and so too most of the other vehicles behind, including Binding and Tyndall, Doolman and Cotter, Holden and Jones, Kerr and Watson. That still continues, but it's trying to pick up the gaps left by the other cars that have dropped out. Reed and Ashby are out. We're back to 41st, 42nd, Hopwood and Boss and Jack English and Lamont and 43. Morris and the late Denny Holm, 44th. 45th is Wilmington and Watkinson. And rounding off the field, Sala and Weeks in the Ford Sierra, one of the first out, and the first out was 47-8, Bond and Smith in the Caltex Sierra. That's the complete field, how they run in the Tui's 1000 from back.
Exciting finish of Australia's great races, proudly presented by GIO Australia.
Welcome back. 6 hours gone in the great race. Only the fittest survive. They've been out there in all sorts of conditions for over 130 laps now. And unfortunately, the Bates twins, either Neil or Rick there, had a bit of trouble with the conditions, and they're not one of the fittest. They will not survive. Back in the pits, leader of the opposition, politically speaking at least, John Hewson, was hard at work for the Playscape Sierra team. Good stop for them. Soon after, the number 2 Nissan pitted with Neil Crompton taking over for Anders Olofsson. They were in 3rd spot at that stage. Then Jim Richards had an interesting encounter here with Race Cam, where his fire extinguisher started to spit at some sort of an imaginary fire there. Perhaps it was warning him that the rain was about to come back. It did threaten, but so far it's held off, and they're racing in fine conditions as they head towards the 7th hour and the checkered flag.
Holden is back on the mountain, and they are back with a vengeance. The Chevy engine V8. Alan Grice, Win Percy, car number 16, the Holden Racing Team in 5th position at the present time. This car has run hot and strong all day. But I'll tell you what, I don't know how much longer this will continue, because those ugly storm clouds are regathering overhead, and it might be time to take a look at a mountain memory of 87, which was our last race under these kind of conditions.
1987, and Aussies captivated audiences in many theatres of endeavour. Kylie Minogue took Locomotion to number 1. Pat Cash finally cracked the jackpot at Wimbledon. And Wollongong's Wayne Gardner raced to the World 500 motorcycle crown. Bathurst became a round of the World Touring Car title, and the Europeans arrived en masse, attracting more protesters than the Daintree Forest. The black and red Eggenberger Sierras dominated the race, though Brocky won the hearts of everyone with his gutsy wet-weather Nureyevac. And when FISA threw out the Eggenberger cars for illegal wheel arches, Peter Perfect was declared the winner. Somehow, justice had been done.
Yes, and as I said, the ugly storm clouds that marred the end of the race that day, 1987, are back again. We've had one spell of wet through the middle part of the day here, or the late part of the morning and early afternoon, in which drivers, by their own admission, experienced the worst conditions, not just here at Mount Panorama, but in the case of many of the more experienced drivers anywhere that they've ever driven in the world. Andrew Miedeke, now at the wheel of car 55. He's got the belt done up, I don't think.
No, that was his drink.
Was it? Oh, okay. I saw him grabbing at his shoulder.
Just before you escape the subject of the weather, Gary, the chopper pilots have told us that there's more hail in Orange, and that hail is moving this way.
Car 55 in 7th position. We just saw it rejoin the race with Andrew Miedeke at the wheel. Car 35, the Peter Jackson Sierra entry. The badly banged up Peter Jackson Sierra entry. Wayne Park in 8th position as they rejoin the race. David Parsons, yes, it is David Parsons at the wheel now. Former driver with the Peter Brock team some years back. Dick Johnson, just a little brake lock up there as he comes out of Forest Elbow in 2nd position as he lines up on Subaru Conrod Straight, and pushing very hard, but unable to bridge the gap at this stage on the front-running Nissan of Jim Richards. And,
I think Johnson, I was going to say, Gary, I think Johnson's contribution to this race has been outstanding this week. I know a lot of people have had huge raps on Johnny Bow, figuring that Dick was, you know, sort of in the twilight of his career. And that lap he pulled yesterday was just sensational. It took a lot of guts for the team owner to say, no, sit it out, kid, I'll go out and give this one good shot, which he did. And he's done brilliantly here today. A lot of people thought that JB would be in it for the start of the race. He's been on a fitness kick for about 3 or 4 months. And it really shows. Yeah,
more than 3 or 4 months, actually. About 2 years ago now, Dick could see that youth was overhauling him. Younger drivers were coming up. His position at the top was going to be under threat. And the only way to forestall that was to get into a strong fitness campaign. He's got a gym at his house. He works out every day. He swims every morning. He's up at the crack of dawn. Even here in Bathurst, he's up every morning down at the pool at the local RSL club here in Bathurst. And he is a lot fitter today than he was 2 years ago.
No, he's done a great job here at Bathurst this week. 48 years of age. Comes from Daisy Hill in Brisbane, Queensland Touring Car Champ. 9 times Australian Touring Car Champ. He won that national title 81, 82, 84, 88 and 89. He, of course, has won 2 Bathurst 1000s in 81, the accident-shortened event, and, of course, 89 in the Shell Sierra. This is his 19th start at Bathurst. And the man who'll be stepping into one of the Ford Falcon EBV8s for season 93, running 2 Falcons for next season. And looking forward to it as Alan Grice into the pit, steps out of the 16 car, and Win Percy about ready to step in, and Andy's down there.
Likely John, mate.
Okay, John.
Yes, straight driver change and tyre change. Interesting that they would do it now. The weather closing in, you would have thought they may have tried to hold out a few extra laps to see if the rain started to come. But perhaps they just pushed it to the point where they needed to make the change anyway. Whatever it is, it's only a short stop for them, 24 seconds, so they'll be pretty happy with that.
Football, meat pies, kangaroos and Chevy engines. 16 was position 5, rejoining the race now. There's the team lining up.
18 move aside as Dick comes down the outside. They come around the turn. Actually, Dick has been making some inroads at Mark Scaife's lead over the past couple of laps. In one lap, he pulled about 4 seconds. The next lap it was 1 second, so we weren't quite sure whether or not Mark was held up in traffic. But Johnny Bow, car number 17, who is paired with Dick Johnson, will be delighted with where they're standing. You got a bit of a smile on your face, JB.
Well, it's a long way to go yet, Mike, but the car is the most perfect car I've ever driven in a long-distance race. It's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with it at all, and I hope it just keeps going that way. And I'd hate to wish Freddie Gibson's team any ill win, but, you know, if something happened to it, I wouldn't be sorry.
Oh, terrific. I see he's just ripped off a quickie, 2:17.72. That's not too bad. The storm clouds are rolling in. About the last thing you really need is more rain with those four-wheel drives, isn't it?
Well, it is. The bit I did 38 laps in the rain earlier, and it was absolutely frightening, the most frightening experience I've ever had in 20 years of motor racing, so I'm glad Dick's in the car if it's going to rain again.
You told me on the media day here at Bathurst you weren't really looking forward to another start at Bathurst in a turbocharged Sierra. You couldn't wait for the V8 to come. Still hold that idea?
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, the car has just been so good, though. I couldn't speak badly of it, but... you know, it'd be nice to drive a V8, particularly if it ever rains again, because the Sierra is very, very sudden on the throttle, for want of a better term. And, you know, it's not a nice experience in the wet.
Well, Scaife, he's got a 58-second break at this stage over Dick, and Dick has been carving a little piece at a time into that. We can only hope it stays fine. I think fine would suit you better than wet.
Oh, you could say that again. 58 seconds is, you know, it's a long way, but, you know, they've only got to have a little problem and we'll be there. So, obviously, the car's healthy if Dick's still doing 17, so, you know, I'll keep my fingers crossed. OK, we'll keep them crossed for you too. Thanks for the chat, John. Thanks, Mike.
Very nice young man, Johnny Bow. I thought was one of the stars of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship this year.
He told me earlier, you know, Mike, that Dickie Johnston was really anxious when he went out yesterday and pulled that 12 off. to give the finger to the people who were saying he was a show pony for letting Johnny Bow do all the work and then getting in to drive it when the cameras were on.
Well, we know that was a little different. There goes Dick.
He'll overhaul Larry Perkins here as Perkins comes out of the pits in position 10. They've had an awful lot of trouble in the 11 Commodore, Bob Jane Team Arch Commodore.
Dick's not mucking around, is he?
No.
Straight up the inside will take split times. Richards and Scaife lead. That's the gap, 58 seconds, 58.464 to the Johnson Bow car. Third is Neil Crompton in the Winfield Nissan GTR. Fourth, the Longhurst Chicotto, Benson and Hedges BMW. And fifth, number 16, Purse and Gricey in the HRT Commodore VP. Stick around, we'll be back in a moment. You're back at the Tooheys 1000 at Mount Panorama Bathurst. Coming down to Forest Elbow, car number 41, the Daily Planet machine. Up to ninth now in the race.
Yeah, terrific performance, actually. You consider the guys behind this vehicle, primarily Andrew Harris, been away from motorsport for about 5 years. Ran the race here, or going back to the mid-80s a couple of times. Gave away motorsport, was then involved in a horrific light aircraft crash on King Island in Bass Strait, was badly smashed up and badly burned. Has made a good recovery and has decided to make a comeback, partnering Gary Cook. But there are 3 drivers, in fact, involved in this car. John Trimble as well, the sponsor of the car, has had a stint out there today and acquitted himself not too badly, considering the absolutely atrocious conditions. So they've done a good job.
Well, up to ninth, that is a fabulous effort.
Well, Gary Cook knows what it's about here.
Well, of course, Gary's an old campaigner here at Mount Panorama Bathurst. And they had 2 cars entered. They were always considering dropping one car, using one as a training car. Well, they had to drop it after Friday when they gave it the barbecues galore treatment. John Trimble. But no, he's done a great job. Harris, Cook and Trimble in the Daily Planet car and Larry Perkins' machine. And it heads up Mountain Straight.
Their slogan, of course, at the Daily Planet is, the Daily Planet always moves at your pace.
Thank you, Doug.
And it's a fairly fast pace today. They also have a wonderful jukebox, I believe. That's what you said, wasn't it? Yes.
Coming up to the top of the mountain. Johnson was making inroads at about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds a lap on Mark Scaife there for about 4 or 5 laps. In the meantime, we go back down to the pits for the changeover between Thomas Mazera. Let's go down to JB.
Yes, thanks very much, Mike. Mazera hopping in for Jones. It is a scheduled stop. Staying with the slick tyres again. They've had to stop on schedule. As I say, the weather closing in is probably going to make that a disadvantage. If this weather had decided to come in a little earlier, then they could mix that with their normal pit stop, but they're not going to have that luxury. So it is 24 seconds this time. By the look of the clouds overhead, they'll probably need another one for some intermediate or perhaps very wet weather tyres in about another 20 minutes.
Try chains, John, chains. We believe some hail up there as well. As we pick up on car number 13.
There he is, the captain.
Yes, it wouldn't be Bathurst without Peter Jansen, partnering Bob Jones in this Ampol Max 3 entry.
They got the wrong Jones up there, that was Bradley, but that's a nice wrap on Bob Jones and Captain Peter Jansen. Car 13, position number 20.
He's having a helmet made in the shape of a deerstalker cap, I believe, for next year's race.
Johnson again, hauls on down. Sponsored by Ampol, the Bob Jones car with Captain Peter Jansen. Good to see them getting behind this team. Privateers. Nicely turned out car. They were here for the media day. I think the captain, who must be in the veteran class, be enjoying his run.
He's had some great success here at the mountain over the years. People tend to smile when you say Captain Peter Jansen, but his name is...